My wife, Camille, had gone out for a girls' night with her friends, something she did occasionally. I had always welcomed her home with a smile, a hug, and a cup of tea waiting on the kitchen counter. That night, however, everything felt different. Earlier, I had received an anonymous message containing photographs of Camille sitting closely beside another man at a restaurant. I didn't know the context, but the pictures looked intimate. Instead of confronting her immediately, I waited. When Camille finally opened the front door at 1:17 a.m., she smiled and expected my usual welcome. Instead, I placed an envelope on the table. Camille's smile disappeared when she saw the envelope. She asked what it was. I told her to open it. Inside were printed copies of the photographs I'd received. Her face went pale. She immediately said, "It's not what you think." I nodded and replied, "Then tell me what it is." She stared at the photographs for several seconds. The man beside her was Ryan, someone I recognized from her workplace. In one photograph, he was holding her hand. In another, they were sitting extremely close together. Camille began crying. She said she planned to explain everything the following day, but now she had no choice. I expected her to confess to an affair. Instead, she told me Ryan had been threatening her. He had discovered private information about her family and had been using it to pressure her into meeting him. I was skeptical and asked why she had never told me. She said Ryan had threatened to expose her younger sister's financial problems publicly if she involved anyone else. I asked why she was smiling in the photographs. Camille explained that she was deliberately acting calm because Ryan had warned her that he would become aggressive if she appeared frightened. I still needed proof, but the story suddenly sounded very different. Camille reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. She showed me dozens of messages from Ryan. The messages were manipulative and threatening. He repeatedly demanded meetings and warned her not to tell anyone. My anger shifted from jealousy to concern. I asked whether she'd met him that night voluntarily. She said she had gone because Ryan threatened to send the information to her sister's employer. She had planned to record the conversation, but her phone had been nearly out of storage. She admitted that hiding everything from me had been a terrible mistake. She had convinced herself that protecting her family meant handling the problem alone. I asked whether the photographs had been taken by Ryan. She nodded. He had apparently wanted to create evidence that could be used against her if she refused his demands. Suddenly, the anonymous message made sense. Ryan had deliberately sent the photographs to me, hoping I would believe Camille was cheating and leave her. I asked why he would want that. Camille said he had become obsessed with controlling her and believed isolating her from me would make her easier to manipulate. I felt sick realizing that the photographs had been designed to destroy our marriage. I told Camille we needed professional help and legal advice immediately. The next morning, we contacted an attorney and reported the threats. The messages provided clear evidence of harassment and coercion. Ryan was contacted by authorities and instructed to stop communicating with Camille. He initially denied everything, but investigators recovered additional messages from his devices. The situation became a formal legal matter. Camille finally told her sister what had happened, and her sister supported her instead of blaming her. Watching them embrace made me realize how much fear had controlled Camille. She had believed silence was protecting everyone, when in reality it had left her isolated and vulnerable. We decided that secrecy would no longer be our solution. A few weeks later, Ryan was facing serious legal consequences for his actions. Camille began counseling to process the fear she'd experienced, while I worked through my own feelings about discovering everything through photographs. Our marriage wasn't magically repaired. I was still hurt that she had kept such a dangerous situation from me. She apologized repeatedly, but I told her I didn't need endless apologies. I needed her to understand that we were partners. If someone threatened her, I wanted to stand beside her. She nodded and promised that she would never again try to protect me by shutting me out. One evening, Camille asked why I had placed the envelope on the table instead of confronting her when she walked through the door. I told her I didn't want to scream or accuse her without knowing the truth. The envelope represented a question, not a verdict. She smiled sadly and said, "I thought you were giving me divorce papers." I laughed softly and replied, "I thought I was giving you a chance to tell me everything." We both understood how close our marriage had come to being destroyed by someone else's manipulation and our own lack of communication. Months later, Camille came home from another girls' night. When she opened the door, I was standing in the kitchen holding 2 cups of tea. She smiled and said, "Back to the usual welcome?" I handed her a cup and hugged her. She laughed against my shoulder. We had survived something neither of us had expected, and our relationship had become stronger because of it. We still talked about difficult things, even when the conversations were uncomfortable. We had learned that love isn't simply protecting someone from painful truths. Sometimes love means standing beside them while they face those truths. I still remember Camille's face when she saw that envelope on the table. She had expected the usual hug, but instead, she received a question that changed everything. I thought I was about to discover an affair. Instead, I discovered a hidden threat and a wife who had been too frightened to ask for help. The photographs looked convincing, but they weren't the truth. They were carefully designed evidence meant to destroy us. That night taught me never to judge an entire story from one picture. Sometimes what looks like betrayal is actually someone trapped in a situation they are desperately trying to escape.